Good morning, guys. Welcome to Canada. It's a little bit cool still, so got the noggin warmer. I think I figured out my microphone. I hope that's the problem. Been sweating so much on this dead cat, the wind jammer that's on the top there. Had to wash it, and I think it resolved the problem. But today I want to get into, as you saw from the opening card, I want to get into the building code and maybe hopefully lay this to rest in one video, and then I will include it in the AAC folder. So I want to deal with the code of the Philippines, and I'm sure there's something else that will come to mind. Let's get into it. So straight out of the gate, let's deal with this building code, hopefully once and for all. I have talked to a number of different engineers, Pogo, San Remijo, and where was it now? Catmon? Compostela? There's too many C's down near Cebu. Anyway, I talked to these city engineers, and again, check the building code in your area. Maybe there's something specific to your island, but everything, including the engineer that we had doing our drawings, all said the same thing. There is nothing in the code between the pillars, the tie beams. There's nothing in the code, and this is why you can do a macan, which is the bamboo weave. You can do grass, you can do whatever you want in between. Hollow block, AAC, Wall-Tec, which is the hardy flex with a metal binder between, and then you fill with full concrete, or the similar product that has foam in between. We did a video on that one. Suffice to say that the building code of the Philippines is really, really thin. It is not your Western code. And so when it came to the AAC, I took a lot of the Western code because I had questions. I'll give one more example on the building code, but this one was from India. Cracking, cracking, cracking. Why? You didn't put it on a slab. So many times I ran into a situation where they were building right on the footing. And it's going to run the risk of cracking. So, and then the Canadian building code, I'm not going to cite the other Western building codes because I live in Canada, on a slab. That's how it goes, is on a slab. It doesn't go on the footing. It's not on a I-beam or any of that kind of stuff. It goes on your slab, okay? So I hope that lays that to rest. But when it comes to the building codes of the Philippines, you got to remember, because I ran into this with the electrical code, they just take the code of other countries and cut and paste it and put it in. Okay, now I don't know about the whole code, obviously, but I think the Philippines was trying to deal with earthquake. And of course, if you're going to go multi-story, you need a post and beam system or a pillar and tie beam system. Whatever terminology you want to use, posty, my crew uses. Whatever you want to infill is up to you. So if your architect says, oh, it's not in the building code, then ask them about all these other products. Ask them why the government is using AAC. Ask them why the big malls and stuff are using AAC. It's because there's nothing in the building code, but your architect doesn't want to deal with it, probably because they don't know about it. They don't know anything about how to do the construction of it. And if it's an architect, maybe they want to do load calculations and stuff like that, but our architect never did any of that stuff. Nada. Okay. Now, on to the electrical code. Be careful about the electrical code. It cites 12 gauge wire, which is basically for 110 volt, to be used in the ceiling because everybody has LED lights. Careful. If it's going to have a motor on it, it has to be 12 gauge. So if you're ever thinking of having a fan, put the 12 gauge in the ceiling anyway. If I had to do it all over again, one item, 12 gauge, Bob's your uncle, do it, because things in your house do change. Now, I will point out too that I ran into a video quite a while back, and I was kind of, put it off. But if you think about it, it makes sense. The guy ran low voltage wiring throughout almost the entire house and put in USB plugs everywhere, because lamps all can work off of LED, all your gadgets, this and that, lots of stuff is running off of USB. So, all he really did in his video, he pointed out that, of course, the kitchen, the aircon, those things all need to be. But in the bedrooms and in the living room, he put one high voltage line in the whole room, in each of those rooms, for a fan. And that was it. Of course, he put higher voltage for the ceiling because of ceiling lights and potential of fans. But just be aware of the code, guys. It is not your Western code. The Western codes tend to almost deal with every little thing out there, and they do tend to do that. And so don't get caught up in that. This is not the Philippines, and it's probably why the building code is so tight that in Canada now you need an architect, period, end of sentence. You can't do your own drawings up anymore. They want an architect to stamp it because the unusual, I guess. But anyway, so yeah, and a final recap again, I followed the Canadian building code when it came to AAC. Have to stress that what you put between your pillars and your tie beams, there's nothing in the code, but please check your own island and see if they have a special clause or addendum in there. Okay, and if you want to slide away now, just so that it's all in one video, I'm going to touch on crew. Because I'll include it in the AAC folder, guys. Crew is not so easy, okay? We got lucky, and so I would suggest this might be something you could look at. Look for a crew that's already working in your area. Talk to the people who are doing the building and find out how solid they are. You may want to just adopt them, okay? And I don't mean legally. It worked out really well for us, guys. There are things that we would change now that we've done one build, okay? And I need to stress that too. It's not easy with your first build. And I've done a number of videos on this. You can search laborers or crew, something along those lines, and see some of my previous videos. But we would structure differently moving forward. We would go back to a more traditional Masoon, a single Masoon who would be responsible for a lot of the project, guidance, etc. And we would expect others to be skilled labor that could easily be what they call Masoon. But you have to remember that everybody there is an expert on everything because they need the work. And Filipino nurse retiring in the Philippines kind of nailed it when she said that, Western countries, we're all kind of living one paycheck to the next paycheck, and we're, one paycheck away from actually being broke. And the Philippines isn't one paycheck away from being broke, but it is one paycheck away from being able to do even less than they can already do, especially these provincial crews, okay? So keep that in mind when you're going. My key thing on the build is, whatever you do, have fun with it. You want to have positive memories of your build. And sure, we've got a few negative ones, but even in the short time that we've been gone, all the positives are floating to the top. The negatives are just there. They don't really mean anything anymore. So again, if there's anything I can say about crew, just do your best. Test them along the way. Always be open with your laborers, because you never know who could be a shining little gem in there. And we did find a couple of shining little gems in our group. It does come in handy, especially if you're looking for a finisher of some type, and he may be there just grabbing any work that he can. They are all shy about overstepping. It is built into the culture there, and you have to keep that in mind. Our crew felt that they did not want to overstep the bounds of our Masoons until we found out what they could do. And then we said, show us. And they did. And we said, okay, guys, these are now high skilled labor. Boom. That's how we worked it, guys. But please have fun with it. Have fun with it. Later, Gators.